Awesome. Well, hello everybody, and thank you for coming to this week's webinar. I believe this is the 7th in the series. Heidi should have been like the second, but with some scheduling conflicts on my end, it got shuffled around. But better late than never. And Heidi is a very good friend of mine. We've been doing stuff together for years now, which is pretty cool. And one of Heidi's specialties is podcasting and really helping teachers and musicians kind of bridge into the podcasting world. And we might be working on a secret project that's pretty cool in this realm as well that can't tell you about yet, but maybe keep an eye out for. And so I thank you, Heidi, for taking the time to come on and share this knowledge with everybody. And yeah, thanks for taking the time.
That's amazing. Thank you for that introduction. So let me just make sure that I can share before you go away, because I sometimes am tech illiterate.
I think we all are, right?
Right? Can you see the PDF?
It looks like it's loading.
Okay. It says I'm sharing.
It looks like it's just a gray screen right now. Can anyone else, by the way, for everyone else, there's a Q&A where you can chat and message. Can anyone else see the share? On my screen, it's just coming up as a gray box.
Gray box. Okay. Let me hit stop sharing. And then let me try sharing, let's see, let me try the PowerPoint version. So I do know this as a podcaster, to always have backups.
Yep. Backups on backups.
Backups on backups. So for some reason, I apologize, y'all.
I think it was something on maybe the platform's end here, because it was sharing.
Okay.
Sharing.
Okay. And then let me do share again, but this time I'm going to share a PowerPoint file. Application window, Power Big A, share. Okay, it says I'm sharing. Well, what I can do is, can I put so that way I don't waste y'all's time, can I put the PDF into the chat, and would people be able to put it up?
Yeah, I think everyone would be fine with that.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, that's no problem.
Try that.
It worked the first time, so I'm not sure why is, like when we were doing it in the back there testing, I could see the PowerPoint. So
really? Oh well, let's do it one more time. Okay, so you guys have the PDF. You can open that up, and we can all be on the same page. I just want you guys to have something to refer to, so you're not just seeing me and my cats floating behind my head. But let me do it one more time. Let me do entire screen. Let me do my entire screen. Okay, can you see my desktop?
No, it's just gray again.
Is it really?
Weird.
Weird, because I gave it permissions through systems, like the settings.
Oh, there we go. You got it. It just that just took its sweet time. Can everyone see that as well? Because I can see it.
PDF then.
It was just. Yep, I see it. Cool. Yep, everyone says it
sees.
So, we just see the desktop. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Yeah, so if you just make that PowerPoint full screen, that will probably
screen. Okay. Great.
Solve the problem.
You see that now? I think it just is lagging by like 5-10 seconds.
It does look like it's a little bit behind.
Okay.
Looks like it might have frozen.
Okay. Weird. All right. No worries.
Okay. It's there. It is definitely just taking some sweet time. So
okay. So I guess what you all can do is, if the lag is too significant, then feel free to like go through the PDF as I'm talking, and then you can scan. Now you have the actual file for your records. Oh, there you go. There's a perk.
Yeah, can you put the PDF in the Q&A instead of the chat?
Oh, sure. Q&A. I apologize.
For some reason on this platform, the Q&A is the only thing that goes to everybody, where the chat doesn't. Okay. Don't know why, but
so. Well, it's weird. The chat won't, or the Q&A does not let me. Oh, excuse me, frog my throat. The Q&A does not let me upload a file. Only the chat does.
Weird. Okay, let me play around with that on the back end, okay. And I can just get this file out to everybody. Okay. And then if you want to just use the one that's on screen, even though it's lagging a little bit, okay. Then at least we can just kind of get you started, and then I will quickly either email this to everybody. Actually, okay. Yeah, that's what I'll just do. So anyone who's on here right now, I'm just going to shoot you all an email real quick with this attached to it. And then I'll let Heidi kind of get going. So check your emails in 2 minutes, and the PDF will be there.
Nice. Thank you, Sam.
No problem.
Don't you love technology?
Gotta love it. It never works when you need it.
Right? Oh, shoot.
Yeah, so if you jump back to I know it's just lagging. So if you go back to the PDF thing and just make that full screen, I'm sure it will catch up at some point. But I'll dip off and get that sent out to everybody. So if you need me, I'll be here. But awesome. Take it away, Heidi.
Thank you so much, Sam. And I'm so glad that Sam did an introduction and first and foremost said, Heidi is a dear friend. And I'm so happy that Sam is in my life. And it just reminded me of all the things and all the different projects that Sam and I have collaborated with. And that's actually a great segue into today's topic. And the reason being is because podcasting is such a fantastic way to network and to build relationships. And Sam and I, our paths crossed many, many years ago with our friend and colleague, Gloria St. Germain, when we co-authored a book together. And from there, we had a webinar, which is kind of podcasting-esque, in a weird way. Just this hybrid technological world coming in and bringing partners and friends from across the world together into the same space. And so from co-authoring a book together with Glory and doing some music conferences together, working on some secret projects like Sam had mentioned, it's really great to get to know Sam on a very personal level. And so I am indebted to his friendship and to him bringing me in, and I love learning from him. So with that being said, I want that for you. I want you to be able to have a platform. I want you to be able to have a space where you can meet amazing Sam Reddys in your life and other colleagues, friends, and peers along the way. And actually, I'll talk about this later, but my podcast did a show with Sam about 3-4 years ago. That was another project we did together, and I'll find out that episode number so you can check it out, my conversation with Sam through the years in terms of Music Live and just the things we've learned about each other. But with that being said, as you guys know, being musicians, music business owners, studio owners, the power of networking and building out your orbit is so monumental. It's so influential to just the growth of everybody as an individual on a personal level and through, business means as well. And so what I have learned over the course of these past 6 years of being a podcaster, I want to relay that information to you and just show you the power of podcasting so you can consider this medium as a possible option for your music studio, your gigging schedule, your creative and financial endeavors. Because I think that a lot of musicians they're not given this information and aren't aware of the possibilities of podcasting. So hopefully this PDF works with us and is gelling with me. If it is a little lag, I will make sure that I kind of out loud state which slide of the PDF I'm on. So that way, hopefully you can be looking at your individual document on your desktop as we're going through, so you know exactly where I am in the document. So for page 2 of objectives, we just have a quick rundown of the things that I would love to cover today. I'm going to introduce a little bit about myself, how my podcast, Flip 360, started and how it expanded in ways that I didn't even imagine. how podcasting as an industry and as a medium for you is untapped. It's an untapped market for musicians. The next thing is the benefits of podcasting and different ways in which you can utilize this platform, some success stories, and we're going to end with a live Q&A. So because we started a little bit later, I'm going to make sure that I wrap things up around 1:45 at the very latest, so that way we can have a discussion about this and you can pick my brain with any questions that you have for the live Q&A. So I'm going to keep my eye on the time and make sure I wrap this up around 1:40, 1:45. So feel free to get your questions ready for that live Q&A. Although if you have questions throughout, I am keeping an eye on the chat and the Q&A feed. So feel free to ask questions along the way. I want this to be really interactive as much as possible. Yes, 191. Nice, thank you, Sam. Cool. So with that being said, I'm on page 3 now of who we are. And after all of that, hi, it's so nice to meet you. Thank you for being here, each and every single one of you. My name is Heidi, and I'm one of the co-owners of Red House Productions Company. And Red House, you're going to learn a little bit more about Red House later on in my story, but it's a podcast production company where we help creative artists like you and small business owners launch, grow, and monetize their shows. So wherever you are in your podcasting journey, we come alongside you and help you achieve your podcasting goals. So like I said, my name is Heidi K. Begay. My husband here pictured on page 3 of who we are. My husband is Eric J. Begay. We got a little family rhyming thing going on. And first and foremost, we met each other being musicians in college. And I'm a flutist, he's a guitarist. And then as our paths unfolded, we started wearing all of these different hats, very much like you and to your journey, being songwriters, musicians, educators, coaches, and now we are serial entrepreneurs, and our umbrella company and everything in our business portfolio includes 4 different businesses. So we have Red House Productions, which this is where I'm the floating head for today for our podcasting company. We also have the Pivoting Musician, J&K Productions, and Flute 360. So never in my wildest dreams did I think that I would actually have a business portfolio, and also with my partner. So he's my partner in crime in life and in the business world. And so for that, I'm very thankful. So if you have any questions, feel free to just be like, hey, Heidi, I have a question, and I will do my very best to answer it. So the reason why we're talking about podcasting today is because, like I said earlier, I really want you to be aware of the different possibilities in order to grow your music career and or business. And we're going to talk about the benefits of podcasting here, but you need to know a little bit of backstory for me and where I came and how I came to podcasting in order for you to go, oh, okay, yeah, she's a flutist, but she's a podcaster, and this is why. So originally, I'm from Chicago, Illinois. You can probably hear my little nasally accent voice with, mom, and you can hear the nasal vowel sounds. But I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois. Right now, I've been living in Texas for the past 15 years with Eric outside of Dallas, Texas, in different parts of Texas, but we currently are in Dallas right now. We have 4 cat fur babies, and I mention that because I know a lot of music teachers and musicians out there are huge animal lovers. So we have Gizmo, Lexi, Star, and Hendrix. We love them very, very much. And when I started my flute career journey, like many of you, you did the very, the traditional route of going to school, studying, going to master classes, festivals, getting all the degrees and all that jazz. So I started off in Chicago, and then I received my undergraduate degree in Tucson, Arizona, my master's in Louisiana, and then I took a 6-year break between my master's and my doctoral degree. And you need to know this is because that's when I started planting this entrepreneurial musicpreneur seed in my mind of what the possibilities were for me and my flute career. So from 2009 to 2015, in those 6 years, I built up a flute studio of 60 flute students in the Fort Worth Metroplex area. And it was great. I was learning a lot as a teacher. I was expanding, I was networking, I was learning tons about flute pedagogy and all of that. It was fantastic. At some point, though, I hit a burnout and I said, oh my gosh, there has to be a better way, because driving around between 5 to 6 different school districts, teaching 50 to 60 students a week, oh my goodness, it was great, but it was very tiring too. I had this idea like, okay, well, I'll be smart and strategic about this. I will go and get that terminal degree and everything will be fine and breezy in my world, because I will get someday that tenure track academic full-time flute professor position and all will be good with the world. Well, so from 2015 to 2018, I did just that. I received my DMA in May of 2018 from Texas Tech University. And the reason why you need to know that is because just like any graduate, master's, or doctoral program, you need to end with a bang with a thesis or a dissertation. My dissertation ended up being a podcast, specifically a flute podcast, because I'm a flutist. And I was very fortunate that my committee actually agreed and checked off and approved of such an idea. It was very interdisciplinary. I got to use my education, my passion of being a flute educator, and marrying it with my husband's tech side. So if I didn't mention this earlier, Eric is an audio and video engineer, and he knows everything you need to know about DAW systems, cords, cables, microphones, and all of that. And so it was, not to be cheesy, but it was literally this perfect marriage of my skill sets and his skill sets. And I came to them with this idea of saying, hey, as an educator, I would like to do something different. I don't want to put my work into like one performance guide. I want to really holistically show flutists elements and nuggets that I missed along the way throughout my traditional educational training. And I want to showcase how to build that studio of 50 to 60 students, how to take care of yourself holistically, health-wise, as a musician, so that way you can really thrive both as a person and as a professional. So the first 8 episodes, I did just that. I did my health and medical research in episodes 1 through 4 to really have musicians feel empowered by their physical lifestyle choices, so that way they could feel really strong and confident. And then the next 4 episodes were all about building out and recruiting and retaining a thriving music studio. So all that's to say is I completed my dissertation and it was a great end to a mean. Checked out the DMA, graduated, done. Then I fast forwarded with Flute 360, the podcast, and post-graduation, I realized I really love podcasting. I loved communicating with my peers and colleagues. I love bringing on new guests. I love picking their brains. I love learning. And more importantly, I love being able to hit publish and share that with my community, to meet listeners from across the globe, to really start up a dialogue of flute pedagogy, health mindset, holistic learning, and all of that. It was great to dive into that world. And at some point I came to a threshold and I realized, oh my goodness, if I'm going to do this, it takes some work. If you want anything to be done well, you're going to put in some blood, sweat, and tears. So I was investing my time, money, and energy into the podcast. And I thought, well, and I got curious, can I kill 2 birds with 1 stone? Can I have this be this passion project and continue it and make money? So around episode 30 to 40, so I had almost completed a year of production, 1 episode a week, I started, getting curious about an income stream through corporate sponsorships. And we're going to talk about that more later, but come to find out, it works. And even a small Fort Worth or small Dallas flute studio teacher, I was able to convince over 30 companies these past 4 to 6 years to collaborate and partner with me to financially and creatively support the show, while I was giving them their win-wins as well. So all that's to say is the podcast went from being this academic thing to, at some point, I was just having fun with it. And then later, I forgot to mention this earlier, I apologize, but it was also at one point an academic tool. I was beefing up my resume at the same time looking for that traditional job. I was given that traditional job. Pandemic had other plans for my life, bye-bye job. And then I said, you know what, we need to turn this into a moneymaker. And sure enough, hindsight's a beautiful thing, right? Life will teach you these wonderful lessons along the way. And looking back at hindsight, I could see how Flute 360 had evolved over those past 6 years into these different little, take this with a grain of salt, these little different compartments. It was an academic thing. It was a hobby thing. It was an academic thing. Now it's a business thing. And so the reason why I share that with you is because one of the nuggets and underlining highlights that I want to give you all today is you can make podcasting to be whatever you want it to be. If you are an academic at the university and you want this to be a form of a line of publications that you can publish and demonstrate out to your community to help beef up your CV for tenure, for the tenure track, great. If you want it to be a passion project and you're not looking for, any type of monetization from it, that's valid too. But if you are a music studio teacher, instructor coming into today's webinar, and you're saying, you know what, I would like to have another income stream coming in and out of my business. Hey, I would like to recruit more students into my studio. Hey, I would like to partner with corporations who need a violist or a violinist for their corporate events, so I could be this touring musician through weddings and other events and corporate events. What I'm trying to tell you is you can make that happen. So whether you are wearing that CEO cap or a hobbyist cap, what you plant is what you will grow. So if you plant corn, you will get corn. If you plant wheat, you will get wheat. But if you plant corn, you will not get wheat. So I give you that piece of encouragement because I don't want you to make the mistake, and I'm already preaching to the choir, but just in case, what you reap is what you're going to sow, right? And I don't want you to be planting corn and thinking like a hobbyist behind the podcasting mic, but expecting wheat or expecting business results. So if you really want that return on if you want some sort of ROI, really be sitting in that CEO chair in order to think of your end goal and reverse engineer. So Flute 360 went through all of those different roles and evolutions. And the crazy thing about all this is it actually unfolded into a full-out business portfolio for me. And that was something that was unplanned. It was very organic. At some point, yes, I had to pick up that baton and go, okay, now I'm going to feed it so that way these businesses can thrive. But what I started noticing was people were reverse engineering Flute 360 and my journey. So what I mean by that is they were noticing like, oh, hey, Heidi has a platform. She's standing out from the other flutists in the market. How did she do that? Oh, she has a podcast. And these are the conversations that I would have with flutists and other musicians at festivals, conferences, when I would go in and exhibit Ask Flute 360. And the more I was telling my story about how it went from dissertation to academia to being a business model, people got really interested. And for that, I'm extremely grateful. And they took notice and they're like, of the hundreds of thousands of flutists out there, how do I know Heidi's name? Oh, it's because she has a podcast. Wait a second, she has a podcast. Okay. And then they would ask me, what was my journey like to get to this point in my career? And I told them I had to pivot. I had to pivot from thinking from academic, right, research scholar, into thinking and pivoting into being a CEO. And that's one of my businesses, the Pivoting Musician, really giving modern day musicians like yourself these entrepreneurial tools in your toolbox for you to see yourself as a working, thriving business. And I co-own that with my colleague and friend, Dr. Garrett Hope. And then they realized in the journey and in the narrative that I was describing to them that, oh, you have these flute recordings. That's amazing. Oh, you do live flute concerts. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. How do you know all the tech side of things? How can you master an album? You're just a flutist. I'm like, oh, well, my partner in crime, my husband, he's the tech behind this. So J&K Productions was formed, and that's our music production business. Then the next piece of this story was, oh, well, 360 is a podcast. How did you know how to build a podcast? And what are the nuts and bolts to building a thriving podcast? And so there's Red House Productions. So as you can see, Flute 360 is the proof in the pudding, and people were kind of going through and realizing the journey, the process. And there was basically what was happening was, I didn't know it at the time, but now I do, and now I'm more strategic about it. But what was happening in those early stages was real life market research. So from these conversations that I was having with the James and Joes, they were realizing and asking me questions. How did you do this? How did you do that? And what I realized was that's what an entrepreneur is. They solve problems. They find a solution to a problem. So I was noticing all these wonderful musicians along the way asking these questions of, how do you think and act differently as a musicpreneur? How do you put together an album? How do you put together a podcast? And these 3-4 different spokes to the wheel of my business portfolio started really panning out. And so I want the same for you. And the reason why I'm so passionate about podcasting is because it's an untapped market for podcasters. So you can see here on page 5 of the PDF, in case the desktop viewing is not working, you can look at the file, but podcasting is an untapped market for musicians. Now there's so many, and we're going to talk about the benefits to podcasting, and there's many reasons why I love podcasting, okay? But one of the reasons why I love podcasting so much, and I'm coming to my soapbox and preaching from the rooftops of, hey, musicians, consider a podcast, is because you will be seen. You will be seen and visible. I promise you. Reason being is because you can go on your phones right now into Apple Podcasts, and in the search bar for the podcast app, you can type in saxophone. Now, when you do that, about 5 to 8 saxophone podcast shows will pop up. That's it. And it's saxophone, right? I mean, come on, that's not even bassoon or, a more, what's the word I'm looking for? Not, saxophone is a prevalent instrument, right? And of all the saxophonists that are out in the world, there are only 5 to 8 live podcast shows. I mean, come on, right? Same thing with flute. Think of the hundreds of thousands of flutists out there, and there are only about 6 to 8 current flute podcasts. Now, there's about 10. One time in a webinar, I said that there were only about 5, and somebody goes, no, there's about 10. But what I mean is, my clarification is, of the 10, there's only about 5 that are producing weekly, monthly episodes, and they are live. The other 5 are kind of sitting on the back burner, which is completely fine. But my point is to show you the magnitude of how you can tap into this market. And what does that mean for your brand? What does that mean for your voice and your unique set of skills? What does that mean for in terms of recruitment for your studio and getting your voice out there and eyes seen into your studio, into your brand? Think of the magnitude of what and the power of what that can do for your music business. You will stand out from the crowd. And I cannot stress that enough. So I wanted to give you like one of the main reasons why I promote musicians and encourage musicians to start their own podcast is because think of the thousands of flute YouTube channels out there, right? There's a lot. So it's not to say that you couldn't be successful in the YouTube world, and YouTube obviously has huge benefits because it's the second largest search browser, search engine outside of Google. So obviously it has huge potential, but you could get lost in the crowd. But podcasting, not enough musicians are really taking advantage of this real estate. And I want to encourage you to really consider this digital real estate if it's in alignment for you and your brand. So you can stand out from the crowd. So now I'm going on to the next page. Not sure about the lag, but here we are with the globe picture, page 6, and we're talking about the benefits of podcasting for you. So over the course of the 6 years that I have been a flute podcaster. I have just through Food 360 alone, I have produced over 300 episodes. And I'm very blessed, I'm very humbled to say that we have been, for the most part, putting out one episode a week for the last 6 years. And that's a huge feat for myself, my husband, and my team. And I've learned a lot along the way. So again, seeing how Food 360 has evolved into these different compartments, I've learned that, if you want hobby results, you can have a podcast, be this passion project, but you're going to get hobby results. So when I put on that academic hat, when I put on that business hat, I started realizing all these amazing benefits for my music career. So case in point, podcasting has exponential ways in order for you to, again, get eyes and ears onto your brand, for you to make these amazing relationships between your guests that come onto the show, businesses who want to support you through corporate sponsorships, your listeners. And what I love about podcasting is you can initiate and scale and cultivate these relationships in a very genuine and authentic way. I can't think, of course, any platform, you can do this through TikTok, YouTube, whatever, but podcasting is this real true gem because it's long form content. And being that it's long form content, you have time to kind of spread your wings and let your hair down and get really comfortable with your listenership, with your audience members. You don't have to try to cram something in a short, 1 minute reel through TikTok. You can really let your hair down and show your true colors and really connect with your listeners on a deep, authentic level. And the reason why this is important that I highlight this is because from a business perspective, think about, the clients and the students in your studio. They have purchased from you currently or in the past because there is this element of know, like, and trust. People buy from those who they know, like, and trust. I can't think of a better way for your potential clients and students to build that know, like, trust factor by listening in and tuning into your show. By you demonstrating your skill set, your expertise, your passion in your most genuine way, they start tapping in and plugging into your world. Jeff is one of the attendees for today, and he can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, he's a good friend and a client and he's an avid Food 360 listener. So thank you, Jeff. He can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that I really share my life story through the podcast, through the thick, the thin, the weeds, the valleys, the mountaintops. I lay it all out there because I want to connect on this human level, from me host to human level listener, in profound ways. Because I want my listeners to know that they are not alone, that they are seen and heard through their struggles and their victories. So I'm just showcasing to you how impactful podcasting can be for your business in revenue ways and things like that, growing out your studio, growing out your gigging schedule, but in a very intimate and personal way. And that's what I love a lot as a human being. I'm a very social butterfly and I love giving hugs and things like that. So because of that, I just love how you can share content, real content, educational content within your wheelhouse, but in a very personal way. You can gain another benefit to podcasting is you can gain corporate sponsorships. I've been very blessed to work with over 30 different companies who wanted to partner with Food 360. And they entail companies like flute festivals, flute nonprofit organizations, flute makers, flute repair shops, music apps, and the like. And that just blows my mind. Again, I'm just a Dallas flute studio instructor outside of the DFW area. And I know this is going to sound very cheesy, but I swear I'm saying this from a very genuine standpoint. If I can get corporate sponsorships, anyone can. So truly, truly, if I can do it, you can do it too. Okay. And what I've learned over the past 6 years of partnering with these 30 different companies is businesses, the CEOs and the CMOs, they want to work with teachers and performers like you. They love the guy or the gal next door. They love that hometown feel. They love working with the teachers who are in the weeds with their students day in and day out. They get a joy of partnering with real people just like you. So I don't want you to think like, oh, I have to have a big name, or she's talking to somebody else, not to me. No, I have literally helped podcasters who just launched their show from day one lock in corporate sponsorship contracts before episode 1 even airs. That's the power of podcasting. And again, I just want to expand your horizons and push the limits of what is possible for yourself and for your music business and or career. Yeah, I'll put a pin in that. We can talk about that more later. But another benefit to podcasting that I have seen over the years is you are showing up as a music pedagogue, teacher, performer, expert in your own niche, right? And you are producing, being a podcaster, you will be producing content on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. By doing that, what I've noticed with my 300 episodes, is I have a backlog and I can kill 2, 3, 4 birds with one stone. I swear, I know that's very a vivid example, but I love animals, I swear. But you can kill 2, 3, 4 birds with one stone. Be smart, be strategic with the content that you are pushing out on a weekly, monthly basis. What you can do is, like I said earlier, you can make podcasting what you want it to be. So if you are in academia, yes, more power to you. Say you don't want to pivot into being a full-out musicpreneur. That is A-okay. Perhaps you want to start a podcast as the clarinet professor, talk about your clarinet pedagogical ideas, and that could be a recruitment tool for your studio at Blank University. Or how about you bundle up some of your previously published content through the podcast, right? Bundle it up, organize it, and it makes submitting to music conferences, music festivals, and for their proposals for you to be a possible speaker on their stage that much easier. And we're going to, on the next slide, I'm going to talk about this. Well, I can talk about it now, but if you look at the next slide on page 7, you'll see the second success story. That was a lot of S's. The second success story is Jeff Price, and he actually did just that. He's a Red House client and a really good friend of ours who has now published 15, 20 episodes through the Intentional Musicianship show, and he did just that. He took all of his content, not all of it, but maybe a fraction of it, organized it, and was able to submit it to the Ohio Music Educator Association's conference for 2025. He's accepted, and he's going to be one of the presenters in about 4 to 5 months. How amazing is that? So he was able to double dip and go, okay, I've been this content creator. Now let me format it for a conference. But what are the possibilities for you? Reformat it for a book. Now that book is another stream of income that can be coming in and out of your music business just like that. You'll notice other benefits to podcasting include what I've noticed over the last 6 years is my personal and business and my music growth has exceeded my expectations. I'm a better teacher because I'm a podcaster. I'm a better musician because I'm a podcaster. And so that's one benefit. And that alone, that nugget alone, I'm just getting you really excited about the platform, but that one nugget alone, I've done a whole podcast series just on that, the benefits of podcasting for your musical growth, okay? But I'll just go ahead and put that out there. And then also, like, if you're really into, thinking about and being creative about new activities for your students, for your kiddos, students light up getting behind a microphone. You could have them participate through a podcast episode. I've done that in the past, and students really love that. So it's a great activity for students and their own growth too. growth in technology, growth in their communication skills, growth in teamwork, et cetera, et cetera. So it was really hard to just give you guys about 5 benefits to podcasting, but I laid out my top 5 favorite. There's a slew of other benefits to this platform, but I'm just trying to, again, expand all of our minds and expand this horizon of the possibilities of integrating technology into your studio and getting your brand out there. So we're going to wrap up so that way I can give you the floor. I want to have a good 15 minutes for a Q&A, but here are 3 of our Red House production clients, Glory, Jeff, and Serena. And Glory is a pianist, a piano teacher, music theory teacher, and the brand that she's built over the past 20 years, she's done an amazing job. She's our mutual friend between myself and Sam. And she has come in where she is in her business, wanting growth outside of social media. And so she built a podcast with us, and she's able to expand and make her brand that much more visible, and also just having a fun time. Like, she really loves podcasting, and she tells that to me through our Voxer app discussions all the time. And Jeff, like I said earlier, he got his content all wrapped up, submitted it for an academic music conference proposal, got accepted. And Serena, she's a flutist out in Paris, and her show is called The Creative Baggage. And if you check that out, she has an amazing show and an amazing database where musicians can find and students can find opportunities for jobs, auditions, grants, scholarships, and the like. And through coaching with me, she's actually been able to gain and obtain a handful of different businesses who've wanted to partner with her through corporate sponsorships through The Creative Baggage. So the possibilities are endless. And I know I've covered a lot. I want to make sure you guys have enough time to pick my brain. So the floor is all yours, but I would be remiss not to invite you into our Red House Productions family private group. So if you can see this on the desktop screen, go ahead and scan the QR code with your phone, and it will lead you right into our group. This way you can get access to my podcasting tip Tuesday, social media posts, get more information on podcasting, meet other musicians who podcast, and that network right there, that in of itself is invaluable. And every other week on Thursdays, we put out a new podcast episode through Red House Productions. So a lot of goodies in there, a lot of great networking, and a lot of great information as you are continuing to seek out information and content about podcasting for your music brand. Here is some information, website, email, and some social media links. So I'm going to go ahead and shut off the share screen, but feel free to, let's see here, feel free, I'm going to stop sharing. Feel free to ask away. I'm here and I'm all ears for you. Oh, thank you, Jeff. Heidi is one of the most transparent hosts I have heard. Also, a genuine response when you reach out. When she says you can reach out to her, she's not joking. Yeah, I'm really not. Cool. Thanks, Sam. I was able to take, oh, nice. Yeah, the first 10 episodes. Yeah, thank you for reminding me, Jeff. Yeah, and that was a recent win. And when that went down about a week or 2 weeks ago, I was so over the moon as a friend and as Jeff's podcast coach. And I'm saying that very loosely because I feel like he's my teacher in life. But he was so excited to share the news with myself and Eric. And I was just so tickled pink that he got excited to share that with me, and to see his success in that way really just made me smile ear to ear. Any questions? Am I looking in the wrong spot? Chat, Q&A. Jean, Sarah, I'm all ears.
Hello. I figured I'd jump in too, and so just say thank you. That was fantastic. For questions, put them in the Q&A thing, and we'll kind of pull those back and forth. I just wanted to jump in because I can vouch for your work too. So not that this thing has been announced at all or anything like that, but maybe we've done a little bit of work in this realm, and so I can say unofficially that that Heidi does know what she's talking about when it comes to creating podcasts and and more the community and process at large, sort of around the podcasting world, for this secret project we've been working on. Not only does it involve, actual podcast stuff, but a sort of broader picture of the podcast community and things like that, which has been vital, for this project to even, exist at all, because Heidi's expertise is basically, sort of driving that vision forward. And I think it's just one of those things, as you were saying, like, if I can get a sponsorship, then anyone can. And to a certain extent, I disagree, but I do agree. I do agree. I think Heidi's a little more special than she might be making out here. But in as your point goes, you are right. Meaning there isn't some secret knowledge that you had that other people can't acquire,
Right.
and just being able to kind of get in front of the microphone and be consistent about it, and being willing to put the time and effort into it, is 90% of the game right there. And then of course part of what Heidi does is teaching you how to make that process easier, and B, the little things that you might not have thought about, the details that make it just move forward that much quicker. And with Red House's packages and the things they offer, you can turn your quick little recording from your laptop into a fully produced podcast quite quickly. So it is something I think people overestimate the difficulty of and underestimate the value. Would you agree with that? That it's
Oh my gosh, you said that so well. I could not have said that any better.
Yeah, don't you think people think it's going to be much, much harder than it really is, and it's really not. Once you kind of get going, you just go. And then the thing about growing the podcast and sponsorships and making it an income stream and turning things into a book and all of that kind of just comes with it. It's those are things that you can choose which ones you want to do, but if it is sort of an avenue you want to push down, you definitely can. And again, Heidi's stuff has all of the resources for how to actually execute on those things. But I think people also misunderstand how valuable of a marketing tool it is. Like you were saying in the beginning, like you were the teacher in Dallas, but you were the teacher with the podcast, and so people could kind of know you before they ever got to know you. So that I think is a massive value proposition to potential students and clients and families that might want to check you out. Like from my point of view, I've been on a lot of podcasts. I've been on your show and I've been on a couple dozen others. And for my own teaching, I use those as like, if you want to know who I am and what I do, here's the media page on Musi that has all of my guest appearances on podcasts, and people can go and get kind of a vibe of what I'm about before they ever actually meet me. And I think that kind of thing is vital. And if you have your own show, it even shows even more that you're dedicated to your craft and to your community, and that you put out this sort of knowledge for free that really kind of empowers you as a teacher, but also the people coming in to learn about you. It really shows that you've kind of got a bit more going on than just your average teacher. So if you're looking for that thing to separate you, because I hear this all the time, is, well, there's 20 piano teachers in my town. How am I going to separate them? I've tried lowering my prices, which never works. So don't do that. I've tried offering group classes, which works, but someone else could offer group classes. It's all those things. And then, but if you're the one that also has a podcast that's a consistent, well-produced series, then that's another thing that really puts you up ahead of the competition. So
I love that. I'm so glad you brought that up, Sam, because that right there, like when I do a free 30-minute trial lesson for my young kiddos, like junior high school age in the DFW area, they will say, like, because on that free Calendly trial lesson card, it will say like, hey, if you want more information, or for you to get really excited about your Flute 360 lesson, click this link to listen to the podcast before your lesson. And you're dead on. When they come into that trial, I almost feel like they're already bought in and sold as a student before I even open my mouth, because the parents get so excited that there's supplemental material for their students. They get excited because they already know the nasally sound of my Chicago voice, and they see the podcast videos through YouTube, and they're like, oh, and I can't tell. And this kind of segues into my next point, and that is they already feel like they know you and you haven't even met. Yeah. So when I'm at flute festivals, I will have a flutist, and I'm so humbled to say this, and I'm just beyond blessed that people would even entrust me with this knowledge in their life. They'll come to the Flute 360 booth and they will hug me and start crying all of their life worries and their music career troubles, because they feel like I am their long lost sister or their long lost aunt. And it's like, how amazing. And for them, they've known you this entire time. To me, it's a brand new relationship to a certain degree, but it's like, wow, you could have that much impact for your community at the regional, national, and international levels. Like when I've done a flute tour in Greece, there are Greek flutists saying, I listened to your show. And it's like, pinch me. Because to me, I'm just Heidi. And if just Heidi can do this, you guys can do this too. And that's where Sam, full circle back to the nugget he gave you. And that is, you can have that impact on somebody you never even met and automatically stand out from the crowd just like that.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I experienced sort of a similar thing with the Musi stuff. Is it grows bigger than you are at a certain point. I try to pretend like I know everybody that uses Musi, and there are, a decent number that I do, talk to enough and I can remember and I almost consider friends. But there's way too many people that use it for me to really actually remember every single person that comes onto the platform, and which is kind of neat in a way, because it has grown beyond just me. And again, I'm just Sam who wanted to work on a thing, and it does, these kinds of projects have the potential to really grow bigger than you are. And the nice thing is that the way in which they expand is relatively effortless, in the sense that once you put something out in the world, other people can find it. It's international almost immediately in that sense. Where, sort of why I always am harping on why online lessons are a good idea, because if you want to grow outside your physical bubble, well, you could go teach in every country in the world if you're doing online lessons, and podcasting is a similar kind of thing, because you can podcast in every country in the world that, that has access to your RSS feed. So, it's a really quick, not quick in like a quick and easy, but quick in like a large, it can hit a large audience relatively fast, compared to a lot of other traditional marketing methods. And I'm just thinking strictly from a marketing point of view there. There's teachers are always asking, how do I find new students? How do I get more students? How do I, There's the number one thing people come to us about. Is half of them don't really even need help with the online stuff. They're just like, how do I get more students? How do I grow my studio?
Interesting.
And this is one of those things that's the underutilized but overly effective things that you can do. And it's fun. It's genuinely fun. If you love the industry you're in and you are a teacher and you love those topics, and you can talk all day about it, then grab a mic and start talking. And like you're saying, you can meet really cool people, because you could do a solo podcast, but you can also do interviews. You can have guests on. You can have a partner that you do the podcast with. There's so many different, versions and facets that you can kind of go down. So it doesn't need to just be like you monologuing into a microphone. If that's not your thing, then get some guests and do interviews. If you don't want to interview, maybe find a partner that you can do like just weekly episodes together as a conversation. Do a bit of everything, mix and match, So, I think there's a lot of opportunity in the podcasting space. And I know people like, oh, everyone's got a podcast. And it's like, yeah, but everyone's got a podcast doesn't really apply to the music education and music space. It's like everyone who wants to like tell you they're like a tech bro or some finance guru or something, they all have podcasts. It's like
the biggest guys.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but when you go in the music side of things, if you go on Google, like look up online music lesson podcasts, you'll find like 4 of them. You know, if you it's like if you go and look up flute podcasts, you'll find 10 of them. Like there's not 200 that you're competing against. It's a much more, it's a niche market, of course, but at the same time, I think there's way more people that actually listen to this kind of content than you might imagine right off the bat. So, you know, when I say niche, I'm saying niche in the scheme of like, if 50 million people listen to the Joe Rogan podcast, then sure, this is niche. But, you know, not niche as in like there's only 10 listeners. It's,
right.
You know, it's thousands and tens of thousands, if not more, of people that actively engage in this kind of content. So, as a teacher, I think it's sort of a no-brainer. And again, check out Red House Productions and everything that Heidi does to actually see how to execute on this stuff. The Facebook group's the first place to go because it's free and easy, and there's some great resources there. But dig a little deeper. Heidi's got a ton of material, and her and Eric does the production of the podcasts, which are phenomenal. Yeah, so there's a lot going on there.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Sam. I really appreciate that. And full circle, I loved what you said of thank you for letting me know what Musi Live teachers are coming to you and asking about in terms of like, how do I find more students? And that's the, you know, full circle back to the title of today's webinar is the power of podcasting, because I know I'm speaking to a lot of music instructors and I'm just blown away of like the international base of students who've come into the Flute 360 studio over the course of the last 4 to 5 years. Zimbabwe, Finland, Romania, Canada, South America, Australia. And it's like, I would have never in a million years thought, you know, when little 13-year-old Heidi was like, I'm gonna be a flute teacher one day, did I ever think that I was going to be teaching Finns and every country, literally every country. And it's just like, what? Pinch me. And I am blessed and I evolve as a teacher, teaching internationally and just, you know, the cultural differences. And I actually have another blessing that has unfolded this year because of the podcast is I've been able to teach 2 visually impaired flutists in the UK.
That's really cool.
And then, right. And that has upped the ante of my teaching of learning how to be able to hear on a deeper level and really come alongside them and support them in ways that they need to. So all that's to say, these are very small examples of Zimbabwe flutists and other students and examples. But the point is like, it opens up doors, it opens up possibility, it opens up creative and financial opportunities for your studio. And if you're at a roadblock and you're just like, oh my gosh, like, how do I stand out from being the 21st piano instructor in the, you know, blank area? The minute you put a podcast out, you've already separated yourself from the other 20 piano instructors just like that. And you can make podcasting as flexible as you want it to be. You can make 5-minute episodes. Some weeks I'm so busy, I only have time to do a 5-10 minute episode. Other weeks I get to sit down for 2 hours with Sam Ruddy and geek out about music stuff.
If I'm there, you're not doing a 5-minute episode.
I'm not doing 5 minutes, we're doing 2 hours. But
I think, do we still hold the record for the longest podcast on the show?
We do. I'm not even saying that too. So there's flexibility. And sometimes like if Jeff is still in the room, he knows, and I'm very, you are, Jeff, thank you. I'm very candid and open. Like these past 2 years, I was, you know, in September of 22 in a really bad car accident. Well, guess what? My priority ended up shifting for a certain season to take care of my health. And Sam knows this because there have been a lot of musicpreneur masterminds that we're in. And I'm like, guys, I need to cancel. I'm not feeling well. So I say that because the podcast for Flute 360 was on hold for 6 months of this year from January to June of 24. Well, guess what? I was still getting leads. Guess what? I was still getting people knocking on my door saying, how can I work with you? And it was so cool to see that a seed that I had planted many, you know, years or months ago in past series was still bringing me amazing customers, students, and clients because, like you said earlier, Sam, that material, that content, it's out there. Anyone can find it. And so because of that, your business doors are kind of like always open for possible new and upcoming opportunities.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. it's a huge opportunity that I think people overlook. I think everyone should take time to. I put all the links in the chat that are in that PDF, so you can just find them there as well. But reach out to Heidi. She does consultation calls and things like that, so you can meet with her. Red House has tons of things that they're offering. Heidi's website has all the podcast episodes from the Flute 360. I mean, there's tons of stuff. You can't really go wrong working with Heidi. And as I said, we might have a secret project that we've been working on for a little while. And so you might be seeing more of her around in the music sphere. So yeah, I mean, thank you so much for taking the time to do this today. I mean, this information is invaluable. And like I said, this is one of those underutilized things that I think a lot of people could really benefit from. So thanks again for sharing.
My pleasure. Thank you, Sam.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for attending. And like I said, the links are there. This will be recorded, posted up on YouTube and on the Musi website. On the Musi website, there's a webinars tab under resources now. So we put all of that stuff in there as well. But yeah, and thanks again for Heidi and everyone that attended, and we'll see you soon.
You guys.
Thanks. Bye.